Hello, Bob LeMIn for LCTV. Happy to be back in Nazareth, PA, home of world-class Martin Guitar Company. Today, I'm here with Mike Dickinson. Mike's about to start us on a long-awaited factory tour of this fine facility. Mike, let's get started.
All right. We have a machine room downstairs where we take all raw parts and pieces and turn them into parts. We can't bring a camera crew down there, but this is where those parts come to get cut to shape. This is a laser cutter, and right now it's cutting guitar tops to whatever particular style or shape of guitar it needs to be. These happen to look like dreadnoughts. Before it gets cut to shape, it has to be graded. So grading happens over here. The first step in grading is called candling. Thank you. So candling is shining a bright light up through the top. This way, if there's a knot, a sap pocket, anything that will affect us once we get down the road, we want to be able to find that first. So that we can either put that on a guitar where the bridge goes or where the sound hole is or under a pick guard, so it won't affect the structural stability or the sound of the instrument. Get up and close. Thank you very much.
So this is the famous X bracing.
Yeah, so this is the X bracing. As far as we know, C.F. Martin developed this in and around 1840. And you see in this particular location, they're rubbing glue on the bottom of the braces, putting it into the correct location. At that point, that lid will come down. All the air gets sucked out, clamps and holds all the braces in place. And at the same time, the bottom plate is heated. So between the heat and the vacuum, the glue will dry in approximately 6 minutes.
Wow.
Number of employees here, we have approximately 500 employees here. That's office staff, the production folks. So this is the X bracing, like I said, developed by C.F. Martin circa 1840. There are two main types. We have scallop bracing, which is, if you think of a suspension bridge, looks like a suspension bridge, and non-scallop. What scallop does is it takes away the weight of the wood without losing the structural stability. However, it does limit the amount of bass response you tend to get out. So you gain a little volume, you lose a little bass response.
Okay, so they're scalloping it.
Yeah, this is the scalloping and tipping process. So basically, he will take the ends of the braces down to practically nothing, and then shape all the braces as necessary. Now, this is true craftsmanship, and a lot of people ask, well, how does he know the shape? Well, he's been here probably 10 plus years. He does this 8 hours a day. We do let people eat and breathe and take breaks. So, okay, let's just say, yeah, he does this 7 hours a day. So by now, he gets the guitar, he sees the body shape, he reads what style guitar, he instantly knows the correct way to shape any of the braces.
So they're all stacked up behind him. What do the initials mean? Like I see H-I-S. IT.
Or no.
Okay.
So basically,
I had to ask.
no, every cart has a letter, and the letter is basically, so he'll get a sheet that says jobs he needs to complete today, and it will have a cart listed, and on that card, the cart will be in the letter, and those letters are just so he can identify the cart from 2 feet away instead of having to look at a clipboard.
Very good.
Yeah. Behind you now is what was a float 50 years ago. in 1976. Martin employees got together, they built this float in the shape of a guitar, and during the 200th anniversary of the country, we took this float around to various parades that were in the area, and then it sat in some guy's barn for years and years. And then he finally called us one day and said, "Come get your float." We went, "This is a great photo op for the factory."
And you sell postcards in the gift shop?
Yes, we do. So this is the side bending process. So the material is just over, it's about 65, 70 thousandths thick. We spritz on a little bit of water. We then put those onto these presses. The presses will then boil the internal oils in the wood and make the wood flexible, and a little bit of steam from the water, and that helps us get them into the guitar shape. This particular material is mahogany.
Very good.
Right. Yeah, a whole lot of clothespins. And what those clothespins are holding is this. This is a piece of kerfed ribbon lining. It's a piece of Spanish cedar with a bunch of cuts or kerfs in it. So we take the pre-bent sides, we glue on a front block and a rear block, and now we need to glue the top and back on, but because the sides are so thin, we need a wider gluing surface. So we install something called kerfed ribbon lining. And yes, we've tried to engineer better clamping systems, but nothing has ever beat the good old-fashioned wooden clothespin. Well, now she's ruining what I just said because she's not using wooden clothespins. Okay, occasionally we use spring clamps as well. So basically this is body assembly. We have the brace top and a brace back. We have the side, front, rear block, and the kerf ribbon lining has been installed. So now it's time to create the body. And you see what he's doing is he's smearing glue along the kerf ribbon lining and the front and rear blocks. He's already cut out little notches where the braces will need to fit in. Once he's got that glue spread out, he'll put the top on, the back on, and it goes in the box. The box heats up to approximately 100 degrees. And at the same time, there's an airbag in there and it fills up with air. That gives us even clamping pressure around the outside edge of the guitar. Between the heat and the pressure, the guitar sits in there for about 45 minutes for the glue to completely dry.
They're racked up there.
And once it comes out of the box, we put them on a rack. People always wonder, what are these things for? These are the alignment holes, so we make sure the top and the backs go on straight. So the average guitar, people always want to know, how long does it take to build a guitar? We generalize an average of about 3 months. But in that 3 months, some guitars can have 20 hours of hands-on time. Some guitars can get 120 hours of hands-on time. They just go from department to department. Now, it's an average because there are some guitars that we can run through the process, including finishing, in about a month. But then when you get to the heavily inlaid guitars, some of those take a little bit longer, to take 4 or 5 months to get through. We have about 500 employees, that's including office people, all the way down to the wonderful folks we have here on the floor. And they're getting out approximately 150 guitars a day. Some days it's 125, some days it's 160, a lot depends on the model mix we're putting out today, but you average it out to about 150 guitars a day. So after the body is complete, the next stop is binding or phrasing, and that basically includes cutting just a little groove around the outside, and into that glue we will glue on little pieces of plastic and inlay for decorative purposes. And behind you, go up this way, we can see a guitar being phrased. Now he's checking to make sure that his cutter's aligned right with the thickness of the binding material. apparently he did a very good job because he's done. Move on to the next one. So he's basically putting that body on a ball bearing and then running it past a spinning saw blade. Can I borrow your fingerboard? So the next step in the process is we're away from the bodies, we move on to the necks. So this is called swing sanding. So when we get our fingerboards, we glue them in, and there's a little glue on the top. So we put it on the swing sander, and it will swing back and forth, keeping the radius of the fingerboard correct, but removing all the glue, and then the fingerboard's ready to be fretted. Thank you very much. So this is actually installing the binding. So it's a little piece of plastic, put some cement, gluing cement on there, and then holds everything in place just with regular tape.
Regular tape?
Regular.
As opposed to painter's tape?
Yeah, a regular.
There's all different colors of tape.
Yes. So this is a specific adhesive quality with the pink. The pink says that.
Okay. Oh, okay.
And then we have a machine design that spits out tape just the right length, which is the most amazing invention, because when I did this years ago, we had to take our tape and cut every piece, and then you would set it on your bench and then go by, and this now just instant automatic.
So were you using a razor blade or an X-Acto knife?
Yeah, usually X-Acto knives. Yeah. So this is the fretting department. So this is where they install, well, let's probably go here by the board. So behind me now is the fretting department. So this is where we install the little pieces of metal called frets into a fingerboard. You just hammer them in, and then there's a press behind this board that pounds them in to lock them into place. Once that's done, it's glued on to the neck, a nut is installed, and then it is off to what we call pre-finish. So this is what we call the pre-finish department, which is basically means sanding. We're using 4 to 6 different grits of sandpaper to get the wood down to a consistent thickness and finish, so that when we spray the lacquer on top of it, we get a nice, even, shiny coat. Now the necks, because of all of their nooks and their crannies, the little diamond or volute, the shape of the heel, you can't just go with an automatic sander and start sanding it, so the necks all have to be hand shaved. And as we walk this way, you can see that the variety of necks, as they're sanding, they have gauges. The gauges let them know what the final dimensions of a particular part is. For this, like the heel area here, side of the neck, the thickness at the first fret, thickness at the 10th fret. So they will work with one of these while they're sanding to make sure they do not take anything below specification. Now I know what your next question is. Well, what if the guitar has pearl inlay? Well, let's go. That way. So this is the pearl inlay department. If you buy a Martin guitar and it has pearl inlay around the body, it's installed in this particular department. So it starts out a shell. Now this has been ground down and made smooth and shiny so you can see what's underneath. But then they have this process where they take this off in thin layers and then glue all those thin layers together into a sheet, and that's where we cut all of our inlays out of for our guitar, for around the body, sound hole, even some of the fingerboard and bridge inlays. So when they're doing the binding, if it gets pearl around the body, they install a fake piece. It's a piece of Teflon. And then they will remove that, creating a channel, and then insert the pearl into that channel before sending it on to the next part.
It doesn't seem like there's much waste or scrap in your production processes.
We've been doing this since 1833, so we're pretty good at keeping waste to a minimum. One of the things we can probably show you maybe later is even like the sawdust gets compacted into bricks, and then we sell those bricks to the local energy company so they can burn them. So the next step in the process is, so the woods we use, East Indian rosewood, mahoganies, have lots of little holes or pores, just like your skin in. So in order for us to get a smooth coat of lacquer on, we put on something called paste with filler. Now when it's wet, it has the color and consistency of like 3-day-old chocolate pudding. So we basically paint that all over the guitar body, and then we take a buffer, like if you were waxing your car, and we buff it into all the pores, let it sit for a little while, and then buff it all off. Unfortunately, it does turn the bindings a little shade of brown, so we have to use scrapers, and they go over all the bindings and very carefully clear all that brown stain off of the bindings to get them back to their original color. And we walk, and you can look at people. Yeah, this is, it's called the Dick boat guitar. Dick worked here for years and years. Everything from, he started in the sawmill and instrument design and artist relations and research, you know, he did it all. So when he retired, this was sort of like his guitar. Now the cool thing about this is that's printed on there with a laser printer, just like you would print anything at home. We've developed with another company the technology to be able to print images onto guitar tops.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. This is one of our print patterns where it's actually a vintage, like a 1930s Martin guitar, that we print that wear pattern onto a new guitar to make it sort of look old. And but this is the finishing department. So we're basically in the finishing department. We just walked through the inspecting and sanding area. This is more finishing and inspecting. So on average, a Martin guitar will get 12 coats of lacquer sprayed on it in 3 different increments. Now some get a little less, some get more, you know, some get colors and sunburst and everything else. So it's a nice average to say 12 with sanding and inspection between every few coats. And that's mostly what's happening, is sanding and inspecting. Yeah. So what we have here is more and more of the prep work for more coats of lacquer.
So sanding between coats.
Yeah, a lot of sanding between the coats of lacquer.
Do I notice a temperature difference in this room?
The entire factory is 50% humidity, 72 degrees. But yes, due to residual heat of our drying room and our lacquer booth, this area can feel a little bit warmer. Yeah, these instruments here are basically curing. So they've been sprayed, they get set in here. It's a little warmer in there, a little drier in there. Negative air pressure too, I believe. And basically that just helps the lacquer set and harden a little faster than it would out in the air. So we're going to start.
Okay.
So we're in the customer repair department. So we have a limited lifetime warranty to the original register owner. And we always suggest, contact us if something goes wrong with your guitar. If it's something we can't fix quick enough for you, we have warranty repair centers all over the country. We do not suggest, though, Uncle Bob's a great guy, but that does not mean he knows how to fix a guitar. Hunks of wood you find laying in the street, adding extra braces and,
That's discouraged.
yeah, epoxies and duct tape, not the correct way to fix a Martin guitar. We have trained luthiers who know how to examine guitars, look at them inside and out, fix any problems, whether from loose bracing to, worn out frets. We can also do something like, let's say when you bought your guitar in 1970, you bought a D28, but you wanted a D45. You can send that 1970 D28 back to us. We will lovingly tear it apart and lovingly put it back together with all the pearl that a D45 has. We can do custom inlays and stuff like that in the repair department as well. So we do our best to keep everybody happy.
How many guitars might you have at any one time undergoing?
So they're constant in and out in movement, but they basically 300 guitars in here for repair. Now, if we look at the shelves, some of them are vintage, antique restorations that take a very long time. So I also buy the guitars for the museum, and right now they have about 5 of the instruments I've purchased for the museum back in here in the repair department to do complete restorations on them. This is buffing. This is where we basically make the guitars shine bright. This is basically where we make the guitars bright and shiny. So you can see it's a robotic arm. Every guitar shape has its own program. There's a little reader card on the body so the arm knows what guitar it's holding, how much pressure to apply. The wheels also move back and forth. It knows when to apply buffing compound, and there's basically a fine and an ultra fine buffing compound.
And all the dust gets collected?
And all the dust gets collected.
On average, how long might a guitar be going back and forth like that? I guess it depends on the finish.
Most of it depends on the size of the guitar. A full size, like a jumbo, will take 8 minutes, where like a smaller guitar, an O or a double O, will take a little less, solely based on the fact that it's just a smaller area to go over.
When do you attach a serial number to the guitar?
Oh, the serial numbers are plotted before the guitar begins construction. So the serial number is located on the front block. So when they go to glue those sides onto the front block, there's already a serial number assigned to it.
Helps with inventory control.
Yes.
How long have you been using
These-
robotic process?
These things have been here about 15 years now.
That's fascinating. This is too much fun. So Martin has a presence south of the border.
Yes, we do. We have a secondary location in Navajo, Sonora, Mexico, where we do some of our more economical instruments. And some instruments we just don't have the capacity to build here anymore. We're so busy building D28s and D45s and John Mayers and, Mendez instruments that we just don't have enough room to build them here anymore. So we do ukuleles. We do this material called HPL. So HPL is high pressure laminate. So this is basically a photograph of Martin mahogany glued onto a substrate, and then we make guitars out of that. And we do that, some of them with solid tops, some of them with HPL tops. Great for camping and hiking and just kicking back with. We also do some new innovative products down there. This is called the S-Body. Now the cool thing about the S-Body is you'll see it has these two little nuts here. So you can fine tune your guitar. Come on through.
Sure?
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want this plug on camera.
You want to come through or you need to talk about this? Okay. So if you see these two little adjustment screws here, so what that allows you to do is, and there's one in the sound hole, you can adjust your neck this way, you can adjust your action this way, and there's a plate you can install that will give you a greater neck tilt backwards, so you can adjust the action to perfectly for you. And on top of that, if your guitar, say you have a set of strings that's tuning a little different, you can adjust the intonation of the guitar so that it will play in tune just a tick better.
And the label inside reminds me of a CD.
That was sort of the idea of the whole thing. House is the other warehouse we have, is about 5 miles away. We call that our distribution center. That's where all the guitars that are getting ready to ship go to be boxed up, put in trucks and containers and shipping companies, and then out to our dealer network and our worldwide distributors, where we show pictures of all of the artists who play Martin guitar, some of whom we've worked with and created models to their specifications. We spoke earlier, there's Willie Nelson with his N20, Elvis played a D18, Steve Howe, Eric Clapton, Elizabeth Cotton, and on and on and on.
Impressive.
Yes.
Hall of Fame talents.
And once we get to the museum, we'll see that artist endorsement they always come to us. And we've been doing artist endorsements since like 1840. We worked with the.
That's pretty cool.
He won't put his. So, at this point in the construction process, everything is lacquered and buffed and ready to go. Now we just need to assemble the finished parts to make a guitar. Now we have two different types of neck to body joints here in Nazareth. We do what's known as the simple dovetail, and we do what is known as a traditional dovetail neck joint. And when we look in front of us now, to our right-hand side is the machine that does the simple dovetails, and over here, this does the standard dovetails. So what's basically happening is that machine will measure the angles on the guitar body and then measure the angles on the neck, and it will take off finish and wood material on the neck and the body so that when we finally glue the neck in, that it will be at the perfect angle for what we deem the correct neck angle. If you want to, one of these things is starting, so we can get some footage of watching it. So the first thing that comes out is a little feeler gauge basically, and it's checking the neck.
Do your guitar technicians tend to stay in one department?
No, well, some do, yeah, it's just personal choice. So as jobs in other departments come up, you can bid on them. Or if you choose and you want to stay and just do one thing for your length of your career here, you can do that as well.
But you seem to have a lot of loyal employees that once they're here.
I have 35 years in. My boss, yeah. My boss is 32 in, and yeah, it's not unusual to, and generational. My mother worked here. My grandfather spent some time here before he went off to World War II. And some of the people with the last names, you can check them in the Nazareth history back to the early days. You see, it just measured all the triangulations on the body, and then it will come back with a cutter and cut. Measures for a couple of minutes and then it cuts. Here we go. Take 2 steps forward, Bob. Take 2 steps forward. It's like we're dancing, Jason.
At one point, I'd like to ask you about how sales increase when they move.
Okay. CEO. You can see there in the background, that's a guitar that we're coming out with. The art on it was designed by Robert Getzel, who's our corporate artist, also cousin to Chris Martin. He designs lots of different guitars for us, and that is, of course, to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the country. In the production process is we need to glue the bridge on. We used to hand scrape the lacquer, but one little oops and it's back for refinish. So we built a machine that will actually scribe the lacquer and cut off the lacquer so that it's the exact shape of the bridge that needs to be on, and we're getting a wood-to-wood connection. Other companies super glue or epoxies the bridge on. For the best sound, you really want wood-to-wood. And that is what that machine right there does. Which it's not running right now, but oh well. Next step. Well, it's actually in 2 steps. Because the next step is called plecking the guitar, P-L-E-K. So basically what it's doing is it takes a feeler gauge and goes up and down the necks wherever the string is supposed to go over the fret and measures the height of the fret. It will then come along with a cutter blade and make sure all of those frets are the exact same height across the fret, and it goes out to like 10 spots past the decimal. Once it knows the fret height, it can then come back and cut the nut slot depth to the correct depth for the nut slot height. Once it knows the nut slot depth for that fret height, it can then go and cut the saddle to the correct height for the nut slot depth and the fret height. Now, you have to repeat that back to me exactly how I just said it.
Nut slot depth, fret height.
Saddle height.
Saddle.
Okay, yeah. So that's basically what the pleck machine does. We will talk more about that in the museum.
Okay. Okay, very good.
So behind me this is the final inspection department. So they have all the specs of all the guitars and they go over it from one end to the other. They put the pick guard on, they put the strings on, they install the electronics if that particular model gets electronics, and then they get to bring the guitar to life. So for the first time, its voice is heard. The problem with that is the wood still doesn't know it's not a tree. So that 120 to 140 pounds of string tension, the wood does tend to move a little bit. So we'll put it in the case. We set it on a shelf for 4 days. After those 4 days, we bring it out and we re-inspect it. We make sure that the action is still the same. If we need to, we will tweak the action. We'll plug it in, make sure the electronics are still sounding good. Once all that's done and it's ready to go, we ship it over to our distribution center, which is about 5 miles away. That's where they will get boxed up. That is where they will get put on trucks and vans and everything else, shipped out to our dealer network and our distributors worldwide.
You make the cases there. I wanted to ask you about how COVID affected your guitar sales.
So at the beginning it went down a little bit, but then once everybody sort of started shopping from home, it was like music stores were almost the first people to do, we'll bring it out to your car for you type programs, was a music store. So yeah, so during COVID, once we were allowed to come back and we had plastic all over the place, there were some working from home stuff, sales went really, really good. And then as things got back to normal, things have slowed down a tick, but we're still doing very well.
The world keeps growing. We need better guitar players.
Yes, and we need more guitar players. Right. Talent is always, you don't need that. If you can do 3 chords, you can play almost every song. And the most important thing is when you're playing those 3 chords, you just gotta have fun. I mean, that's the bottom line when you're playing a guitar. It's like, I am not the world's greatest guitar player. Me and Bob here have, I hang out with...
What's the name of your duo?
Yeah, it's the Bob and Mike show.
Bob and Mike.
Yeah, but like...
We'll bury it in the mix.
we have friends who are, some of these guys are fingerstyle maestros, but most of us, when we sit around in jam circles, you're playing 3 or 4 chords and you're singing along to some song that everybody knows, and that's the best feeling in the world. So as long as you're happy. So this is where, down below, all the parts and pieces we see assembled, this is where they're made. So we get in some lumber, we get in some partially cut to shape pieces, and then we will mill them into our needs. Right now we have well over a dozen CNC machines that does everything from cut hunks of mahogany into necks, hunks of ebony into fingerboards and bridge blanks. We make front blocks and rear blocks. We have sanders that sand our tops and our backs to the correct thicknesses. But the most important thing, we have a lot of talented people that know how to take the raw material and the technology and meld them together to make the best sounding guitar in the world.
There you go. That's what it's all about.
So we are now standing in the midst of the custom shop. This is where, if any of the 200 plus models we make don't fit your needs 100% of the way, and you just want to be a guitar designer, you can hop onto our website and you can pick a neck from this guitar and a wood from this guitar and a inlay from that guitar, and you sort of meld them all together. So right here, one of the things way back in the 30s and 40s, on the interior of the guitar, we used to hide glue little sheets of cloth. And for some reason, certain people like that look, so they will order it. Hide glue in itself is the same. We stopped using hide glue in production in and around 64, 65. And some people just want their guitars made out of hide glue. They think that it makes the guitars as a whole sound better. I let them argue that. I don't argue that sort of stuff. Also in the custom shop, if you want, we can hand shape your braces from raw stock. We can use hide glue to assemble the entire body. See in the background, they're doing some bracing, hand shaping. Also in the custom shop, we can do some rare woods, like over here, that is cocobolo. You see, he's hand fitting a neck, unlike production facility. We also have a European flame maple over there, and it looks like over there we have a Guatemalan rosewood and a bunch of mahoganies and some koa. So you can pick and choose different species of wood. I travel the world buying wood all over the world, so I try and bring back the nicest stuff for Martin Guitar to use in our custom shop. Excuse us, Kevin. So, but we can also custom shape a neck from you. Some people will like, let me come over here. Can I grab just this neck right here? So, throughout our histories, our neck shape has changed. And some people will call up and go, well, the diamond volute there, I want mine a little longer, like it was in 1929 as compared to 89. And I want this shape in the 50s, and I want this as the 60s, and I want the heel as the 30s, and they just want to pick apart from different years of production. So they tell us all that, and he can take all those measurements and make sure he blends them all together onto a custom guitar neck. We also, inside the neck, you can see there, that's a piece of ebony. We used that during the war years.
So you have wood sitting in storage.
Yes.
It dates back how old?
Oh, probably from the 60s.
Okay.
Probably a little, 60s is probably the latest.
Okay.
But inside the necks, some people, ebony, which was used in our very early days, and then we moved into a steel T-rod. And then after T-rods, we went to square tubes, and square tubes led into adjustable truss rods, And we can do any and above in a neck. But probably the number one thing people want in a custom shop instrument is that. That's the pearl inlay. And if you walk around the corner here with me, we have amazing in-house artists who can do everything from soup bowls, snakes and daggers, hearts and birds and flowers.
Signifying 2.5 million.
That was a front block for the 2.5 millionth guitar, serialized guitar we made, yes.
Very nice. Different pick guards.
Yes. We always like to say in the custom shop, if you can dream it, we can build it.
So we're wrapping up the tour, factory tour here at Nazareth, PA, home to Martin Guitar. Martin Guitar has been inspiring artists worldwide since 1833. Mike, thanks for a great tour.
You're very welcome.
Appreciate it. For LCTV, I'm Bob LeMIn.